Howdy, Mr. Diogenes here. I'm going to read you something that I have booted up already that just happened. Is I made an out of court settlement with the guy who sprayed me in the face with poison for $500. I'm like, you mail me a check for $500, it's over. We both consider it a done deal. Okay, I'm going to take off my glasses for this. But I hadn't contacted him for about 6 days, and I wrote, "Hi, Cass," if I got the number right. "This is Stephen Barton. If you haven't talked to Gerald since I got sprayed, just a reminder that I don't forget. Also, I am actually an honest guy. Was told to go after Gerald because he's rich, but then he'd just take it out of your hide. Gerald is his own friend. That's it. Let 3 separate drug trades flourish here: weed, crack, and meth. Gerald is about getting paid. He'd rent to the devil himself if he gets his. Just friendly advice to watch your back. Address for me is," address withheld, for him to mail the check. "Here's what he wrote me, acting concerned for my health after I was dealing with the death threats last summer from junkies. Notice how he throws you under the bus, to use your phrase. I have a very sharp memory. It's just Gerald is an expert con man." Gerald's text. "Morning, Steve. I read your text and would rather talk about it in person, but didn't think you would want me to stop by. I do hate and feel bad about what happened. I never told you it wasn't a big deal or tried to downplay it to you. It is a bad thing, and again, feels like I'm apologizing for something I didn't do. But I'm still sorry. He was wrong and should have had us both move out of his way. Only thing I said was I didn't appreciate how you talked to him. Maybe I shouldn't have said anything. You're right, it wasn't me that got hit in the face. I'm not an exterminator by any stretch, but I would suggest opening some windows to get some fresh air in there. Are you feeling any better? If not, maybe you should go to the hospital and get checked out. I'm not telling you what to do, but I do care about you, and I don't want this to affect your health anymore." Then I wrote to Cass, "I am an honorable man. Honor our agreement, and it's like it never happened. Gerald may throw a lot of business you, and I think your brother's way. Gerald mentioned it once. Memory, remember? You're a good guy, but Gerald literally said he didn't care about the neighbors here upset about a meth situation culminating in a police raid on 7/6/18 on a cookhouse, one house over from me. I can hit it with a rock from my house. He don't care. He's a sociopath. Charm and personableness is part of their toolkit. Just watch your back with him. Be funny if you ain't Cass and I got your number wrong. 500 and we're square. I never bring someone like Gerald down on you. He's without conscience." And so Cass writes me back, "Hey Steve, yes, this is me, Cass. I just wanted to chat a second. I had my attorney write up a waiver for you to sign, and I have a letter and EPA regulations about mixture about human contact. I just need you to sign off on document, and you will get payment. Let me know." Not the best writer. I wrote, "No, I ain't signing nothing. We had an agreement between 2 honorable men. Words mean something to me. If you don't think you can trust me, and you think I'm just going to take your 500 and then come back on you legally anyway, you're either an idiot or one of Gerald's tribe. Jesus Christ. Do you really want me to file a civil suit against you? Tell your attorney to look up CRPS, cardioversion, 5 of them, tachycardia, arrhythmia. You will get metaphorically raped in court. You could have killed me. Don't think so? Would you like to talk to my doctor? We're talking severe heart issues. You sprayed a cripple with poison. Don't you understand how judges and juries will view that? You better speak to your attorney again. Is this you trying to call a bluff? Because if I take you to court, according to my best friend, name withheld, Canton cop and landlord for 30 years, you may lose your license. Forget damages. I have a picture of the poison streaks on my 50-inch TV. A witness, Gerald. You think Gerald will perjure himself for you? Doctor statements. 500 was letting you off cheap. And now you are insulting my honor? Your counselor eyed stupid. You better talk to a real attorney. Excuse me, your counselor is stupid. Then he writes back, I never said I wasn't paying you. I'm just protecting myself also. I have a family and a life. Be a man and keep your word then. This is hurting me financially, but I'm doing it to appease you. Call me if you'd like to talk. I don't like to text. This is me. Fuck that. Talk to your buddy Gerald. Ask him where my head is. And me with nothing to do, living on disability. I ain't signing shit. You insulted my honor. Talk to Gerald, not me. He writes, Your honor doesn't pertain to me. What's right is right. I write, This isn't a debate. This is you not taking me at my word. You want ugly? We can do ugly. Talk to Gerald. Don't bother me. You had your chance. And then he writes, You're obviously the sociopath. I feel bad for you. Do whatever you can. I have documentation on toxicity levels, and your claims are frivolous. I want to be fair, but apparently you can't. Sorry you can't take the best path. Mr. Name withheld. Please do what you feel is best. Toxicity reports will prove your fine and your claims are simply to profit. I have been in the business for 14 years. I know what people try to claim. You think I'm an amateur? I know the laws and legalities of the business. You should have settled with my kindness. Me. Kindness? You sounded like a scared little man on the phone. It's a little late to break bad, don't you think? You don't even know what CRPS is. Tachycardia? What's that? Cardioversion? Huh? You think this is because I need $500? I'm going to pay Gerald 4 months' rent in advance, just so no unpleasantness happens. That's $1,700. You said you're no amateur, but toxicity levels when dealing with someone in my shape are of little relevance, and civil courts are not as stringent as law courts. I think you are an amateur, talking tough about medical conditions you know nothing about. And since you say you aren't an amateur legally, does that mean you spray a lot of people with poison? My cop friend said I should not have been in the room with you spraying. Law enforcement and landlord for 30 years. 14 years. Laugh out loud. Of course I lived and only lost my sense of taste for 24 hours and had headaches for 4 days. What a dumb plan, impugning my word over $500, chump change to me, to protect you from a lawsuit. So you insult me to keep my crippled ass from suing you. And your attorney told you to do this without knowing my medical history? Talk to Gerald around the 5th when the rent is due. See what my word means. And for God's sakes, get a smarter attorney. You're gonna need one. Shit. Was just cardioverted 12/5/18 at Altman Hospital. You just don't get it, do you? You just can't make people sick and then insult them. Yet you seem to want your carelessness and with witnesses, Gerald, and evidence, streaks on the TV know where no furniture is. I will scrape off some with the camera phone running and put it in a baggie. Make sure your poor excuse for an attorney reads this, all of this, so he gets a goddamn clue. We had an agreement between two men, but if this is what you guys want, courts and all that nonsense. You think you're only going to get hurt $500 worth? Seriously? Will you testify to the wheelchair and walkers you said you saw? Think I keep them around waiting to get sprayed with low toxicity poison by careless exterminators to make $500? Seriously, make sure your attorney reads this. Don't be foolish, Cass. I don't want your damn life wrecked. Just trust between two men, just to know it can exist. The logic, as demonstrated above, is so flawed. Sign a paper saying it's over when I told you it's over. If I was wanting to wreck you, I'd just do it. 500 seemed fair to me for a few days of sickness. But now you want to piss me off and say, bring it on, without even knowing my medical history. Did you think the wheelchair and walker was just for show? I will consult my best friend who served in some form of law enforcement for 43 years, freshly retired from security gig at University withheld. He will make a fairly experienced witness and will testify for me. Last word, make sure your attorney reads this. A get-rich scheme involving 500 whole dollars. And then I made a little smiley face with the weeping tears emoticon. Oh, the friend's name is, name withheld. Call the Canton City Police. 30 years on the force. Cousin on my mom's side. Fished with him hundreds of times before I got really sick. To all that, he writes back, I'm sorry you couldn't just sign the waiver and take the money. Why don't you be a man? Why don't you do what's fair and right? Please don't text me anymore. I work for a living and I'm spending time with my family. I write back, you fool. You just don't get it. We had an agreement and you are calling me a liar by asking me to sign something. Civil court it is. He writes back, do what you feel and don't text me again or I'll consider it telecommunication assault. My cousin is the captain of the Canton police force and my other two cousins are on Metro at the sheriff's department. Don't make things hard on yourself. And I have the text that you threatened Gerald to me with. So don't be so cocky. I just called my friend. The fact that you agreed to pay the 500 in writing is an admission of guilt. How will you think that will stand in civil court compared to an angry text? An admission of spraying poison in a crippled's face versus a little steam blown off at a landlord who allows drug trafficking and got my life threatened, documented with Massillon police, who raided 630 Street withheld as a meth cookhouse. 7/6/18. Just stop. I told you on the phone. I'm holding all the cards here. Are you really that broke that you're fussing over $500? Just wait and talk to Gerald on the 5th. I'm willing to drag both you guys' dirty laundry into a court. For God's sakes, just get a lawyer to read this. Let him or her do the thinking for you. He writes, Stop texting me over it. I'm sorry you couldn't be reasonable. Now go down the hard road. You thought you could be a bully. Me. Talk to a lawyer. He'll explain your position. Go ahead, last word guy. You can have it. Okay, so there was a pause in there where my neighbor upstairs knocked on my window and gave me half a sandwich. So there's a gap of about 40 minutes where I was talking to him. But unbelievable. Now, my cop friend says that's just standard procedure. That whenever you reach a settlement like that, they tell you to protect yourself by signing a paper so I won't come back at him for more money. But $500 is such a trifling sum for what went down, and I told the guy it's over. Okay, you can say I'm a weirdo or whatever. I don't care. But that just doesn't do it for me. I'm sorry, man. If I tell you that it's over, you pay me the $500, it's over. It's over. You know, like that's my word. Word is life. Word is bond. To quote some rapper or another. And so I was insulted. it's bad enough to have a guy spray you in the face with poison, but then to have him call you a liar at the same time, it didn't sit well with me. So we had that nice little text war. Um, the reason why I called myself Mr. Diogenes is from, I think he was a real dude actually, but I remember the story, and a few of you might be familiar with this. But Diogenes is mainly known as a Greek philosopher who supposedly took a lantern out at night and searched for an honest man. So, why they got so much light on me? Goodness. Uh, so that's, I thought I had an honest dude there. Like we had an agreement between two men, but no, he's got to protect himself legally because he doesn't believe that I'm not going to come after him for more money. And none of that made any sense. I mean, I don't know how closely you followed it since I read it like I was trying to be an actor or something. But none of that made any sense, because like if I was gonna wreck you, I would just go straight after you. And he's thinking that even the $500 is too much, apparently. Because he's thinking he's spraying some, it's like a low toxicity. He'll just say in court, like, this has a low toxicity, even if somebody gets hit in the face with it, it's not going to do $500 worth of damage. And it's like, no, that shit made me sick for like at least 4 days. I mean, I had like instant headaches from it, and food didn't taste right. You saw the videos. Food didn't taste right for me the next morning. So, I talked to hmm, I took a break, like I said, and I called my cop friend, and he's like, "Well, Steve, you have an admission of guilt there if you do want to take him to civil court in writing, because the fact that he's agreeing to pay you $500 is you don't have to have any argument about him spraying you with the poison. So really, I could take this guy to the cleaners probably if I wanted to go through the bother." And I think the more I think about it, the more I think like I don't really care about money. I care about justice. So I'm just gonna make these people sweat. I think. You know, 'cause I'm just trying to survive here. Like I'm stuck in the house. I'm waiting for a fucking mobility scooter so I can go get a jug of milk so I can have cereal. I mean, why do I want to get like? Why do I want to put my remaining life force into some kind of vendetta to like score a bunch of money like that's gonna make my life better or happier, or I get some new kicks on my feet as the kids say, or maybe get some Rogaine. Seem to be needing some Rogaine. I hear that stuff's expensive. I don't know if they got anything better than that. I don't know. I don't keep up with that stuff. But yeah, the whole logic behind it is just all squirrely to me. It's like it's just standard procedure. It's probably like he called the company. I don't even know if it's a real company though. You see, I think it might be just him and his brother. Because why is this guy sweating over $500, and why does he only charge $185 for two sprayings against bed bugs? It's like when I told that to my very experienced 43-year police enforcement guy friend, he was like, "Well, that guy can't be bonded." He's like, "Nobody charges that." So he's got like probably got like a fledgling. Maybe $500 is a big deal to him. He said in the text that I was hurting his family financially. I was like really? Like I'm below the poverty level here, and like $500 doesn't hurt me financially. I don't have a family to support though, so so yeah, that's what's going on with me. Besides the fact that I found like an old MP3 collection, and so I've been putting up. I put up a couple of stories that I liked, and I'm going to put up the book Thinner because I think it's just such a cool. It's like a B movie. I mean, the movie was absolutely horrible, but I mean, the book is like a B movie. It's just so much fun, you know. Um, I just enjoyed it so much. I've listened to it so many times, and it's like, well, I don't know if there's a copy of it on YouTube or not, but all I have to do is add video to the MP3 with Muvavi, and I can put the whole book, on here for anybody that wants to listen to it. And story behind the book, as if anybody gives a damn. I suppose it's much more interesting than real life stuff. This is also real life stuff, though. So, is the whole reason why Stephen King wrote the book under the pseudonym Richard Bachman, and I think he even put a fake picture on the back of the book, is he was so successful. He wanted to find out, am I successful because I'm so freaking talented, or is it just like a snowball rolling down a hill? In other words, like I got a couple of hits going, and so I can sell all these books just on my name. So I'll just start out as a fresh new guy and see if I really do, how many books I actually can sell. And Thinner, he was sad to report, did not quite do as well as Salem's Lot and The Stand and other books that he wrote. He said, but it did pretty good. So, but really, I think it's my favorite thing that he's written. And I realize that it's, I don't know, it's just fun. It's just a fun book. To me, it's just a fun book. It has a great ending to it. And it's, I just enjoy it. But that's the story about why he used the pseudonym, is he was like, am I really this talented? Or is it just because I'm Stephen freaking King? And so people will buy a grocery list if I write it. And he said, it did pretty well. He said, it did pretty well. And then people, because you're writing, I've learned this from debate on the computer, like years of debate on the computer. Your writing is like a signature. Just your syntax, the way you arrange things, the phrases that you use. And so people just said, wait a minute, this is Stephen King. So he just got outed. He didn't take very long either, because he was such a popular author. They were like, hey, wait a minute, this is Stephen King's work. I don't know who this Richard Bachman bastard is, but he's plagiarizing Stephen King, or this is Stephen King. But like, I've caught people that I think they're called sock puppets, but I'll be like, you're this guy. And I was like, I don't know why you're trying to fight me as a sock puppet with a sock puppet, because you're just one dude, because this is why. And I would explain to him that the phrasing is the same. And I was like, and you use this expression here, and so your actual writing, if you do enough of it, is like a signature. It's like thumbprint. So yeah, since my life, train, can you hear that lonesome train rolling down them tracks? That damn train been busy lately. But anyways, yeah, this whole bed bug thing just disrupted my life so completely, because that's what it does, because you have to like really bag everything up and be real careful. So far since the second spring, and there won't be a third. Not with my relationship now with my landlord, and with the cast guy, and I'm not paying for it, is I saw a bug that I wasn't sure what it was, because it was so tiny. It could have been a hatchling from an egg. I killed it. I mean, I tried to look at it, to see if does this look like it might be a bed bug that hatched or something, since they're ridiculously impossible to get rid of. But what I did as a precaution after the second spraying was I put my mattress and my box springs in a bed bug proof sealed casings, and then I took this diatomaceous earth poison, and I made a ring of salt around the vampire. I just put a ring around the bed. What I have to do is I have to lift up the bed and then spread it's a powder, spread the powder all underneath the bed, to make sure that if the bed bugs do hatch and they do try to attack me, since I'm in bed all the damn time anyway, that they're dead meat, and they're freaky creatures. Like I said, they can survive over a year without feeding. So, um, but yeah, I got my plan worked out. Is like I'm gonna pay the landlord 4 months rent in advance as a show of force, and let this Cass guy sweat it out for being a dick, and let the landlord sweat it out. You know, I listed all his crimes. They actually banded against me. I must be one tough dude rhetorically. Boy, I'm a badass with words. Because they actually banded together against me. Because he called Gerald over my text, and Gerald said, well, he threatened. You know, he said there's a threat in there because what I said was, you know, and I was just mad, but it is a threat. As I said that, and you better tell Cass how serious and how angry I am because I will drag him into a civil court and ruin his life just because of you, which is a threat. And he said, well, I got you. Gerald gave him that um, text, and they're ganging up against me. You know, the landlord and the exterminator versus the cripple. I got sprayed with bug poison. So this kind of reminds me of the crippled Batman versus the meth heads. It's me against the world. By gum. But no, I just let it play out how it plays out. I have some ideas, you know, but I'll tell you the truth is like I'm just gonna let them sweat because there's really no satisfaction to be gotten out of this. You know, the the Chaos guy is kind of an idiot, and if he's sweating 500 bucks that much, you know, maybe it's just him and his brother started this company, and some creative person come up with the bed bugs and beyond name. I don't know. I could research it and find out if it's a major chain or not. I don't know. But if it's a major chain, then why the fuck is it charging 185 bucks to spray? Because my super experienced friend said that like best you can gonna get's like 700 bucks for two sprayings. I mean, uh, and I asked the landlord directly, which of course he didn't answer me because he's an asshole. But I said, is this some kind of landlord discount? He just leaves, you know, anything, he just leaves. Like, he just doesn't answer your questions. Like when I asked him, have you talked to Michelle yet upstairs about the Stampy, about the bugs? He just, like, doesn't answer your questions, just ignores them. Um, but, you know, that guy's, I don't know how filthy rich he is. He may be a millionaire. Uh, he may be a millionaire many times over. I don't know. Him and his dad have been in the landlord business for decades. He's like 43, I believe, age wise. And like I said, 30 plus properties, you know, and this is like one of his cheaper properties. You know, he's renting out houses and stuff for $700 a month and stuff like that. So, you know, and the way he is with how tight he is with the dollar, man, I'm thinking that the bank account's massive. Um, so, you know, I had the Roy guy. He said, "Roy, what you ought to do is you ought to go after Gerald because he hired the guy, and then Gerald will go after the Cass guy." And I'm like, I'm not interested in punishing the Cass guy. I'm interested in getting Gerald. It's like that's why I was willing to let the Cass guy off the hook for like 500 bucks because I figure like at my age, uh, especially I don't feel that good much of the time anyway. I figure like 3-4 days of sickness gotta be worth like 500 bucks. Getting sprayed in the face with poison, the shock of that, and then stupid landlord saying what he did, making me lose my temper and get homicidal. Um, you know, knowing Gerald, he's such a weasel. If we did go to court, he'd be like, "Well, this guy's a maniac." He actually took a machete out in the hallway. And meanwhile, the cops are like, "You can keep your machete." They know what's up. The cops know what's up. I just honestly think there's nothing that can be done about it. I think that it's just some kind of legal thing where they're not landlords are not responsible for any criminal behavior in their building. I think it has to be like that because they were so just blasé about the whole thing. You know, hundreds of times I've complained about seeing drug activity here. You know, I always got the same response from him. Like, especially during the crack days, it's like, well, without evidence, that kind of leaves me open legally. I can't really prove that they did anything. Like, again, my word means shit. You know, like I'm just like bored and making up stories about people lighting up crack bowls on the porch. So, you know, I'm not going to get any satisfaction out of this, and I really don't think I'm going to pour my efforts into it. I talked to my friend, and he was just like, man, you know, you're kind of getting what you want. You're making the guy sweat. You know, you can make him sweat some, and then you can sign the paper and get your $500. And you know, I haven't talked to him about the landlord situation, but I don't think there's any satisfaction to be got because these people have been doing this kind of crap for a long time. Unless like I got really like crazy into it, which I'm not willing to do, and went and investigated his other properties and seen, you know, find a bunch of disgruntled people when we have like a class action thing attacking him. You know, I'm just a lone crazy guy, and I got a psychiatric history anyway. Uh, a well justified psychiatric history, mind you, but a psychiatric history nonetheless. So, you know, I don't have the right haircut quite because I need the mohawk, but I'm just Robert De Niro in that 1976 movie where, with Jodie Foster, Taxi Driver. Um, but yeah, I would, you know, that's just standard practice, but I thought, you know, I'm gonna look over and I'll give it some thought. But what I'll probably do is like, I don't know what, the 24th, the 25th, or whatever. It's like 10 days until the 3rd when I get paid. Then I'll set something up. I already made a deal with Roy that he's going to pay the landlord for me, so I'm going to give him an envelope with 1,700 bucks in it and make sure I get 4 rent receipts. And you know, and then that's going to get back. Then I'm going to get on here and talk to excuse me, Cass about that and say that, did you ask Gerald? Did I keep my word about paying $1,700? Because that's a show of force. Because they think of you as like, you know, you're on disability, you don't have any money, you know, and they can take advantage of you. And it's like, you know, we've been at Gerald's mercy in this building for a long time. Me and the dude in the wheelchair on the first floor, with him installing all kind of, I was gonna say human garbage, but that's not very nice, is it? Uh, let's say troublesome individuals upstairs. You know, because he knows for sure that he's not going anywhere. You know, he knows that I got a situation where I got a bad leg, and I probably made the mistake of telling him I got to stay here until I get my leg straightened out, which of course is just the same as it's always been for 4 years. But I was talking to somebody that's got a line and a property that's a good distance from here that where I can rent. That's made for apartments, so it has the bunkers. It has like the extra concrete sound shielding in it. That's all I want is quiet. You know, that's why I stay in my prison room. You should have heard Stampy today, man. She was in rare form. I was just saying random crazy shit like, turn me on, baby, man, stamp harder. Ah, come on, now you got me hard. You know, just like, that's my thing. I love stamping. You know, just like saying it to the ceiling. You know, because it's just like, bam, bam, bam. You know, to me, it's just like torture. That's why I'm in here all the time. You know, that's why I'm selling my TV to the dude upstairs. Partially why I'm doing that is, yeah. So, yeah, I don't really want to talk about that, but now I got a relationship with the Afghani vet. I don't really want to say too much about that, you know, because it's just not nice. Um, but yeah, I'm selling him his TV. It's kind of to get him off the porch, stop smoking bongs on the porch. You know, he just spent 10 days in jail. You know, because dude ain't right. He just like smokes. Can't be smoking bongs and shit openly at 10 o'clock in the morning. And, you know, I was selling my TV's like 50-inch TV, but it's like 10 years old. And then out of my own pocket, I picked him up a DVD player off of eBay for 12 bucks. And I called over to these people I used to, well, the boat guy's house. I called over to the boat guy's house because I used to enjoy this for some reason. But if you have something called a video scan converter, any video that you can call up, even if it's like streaming pornography or, you know, streaming movies or whatever, you can run it through a scan converter into a DVD recorder, and you can make DVDs that will play in a DVD player. You know, it doesn't. You don't have to have the actual file. So that's more or less what I did with my therapy tape that got my leaked therapy tape that got mysteriously lost with like the intimate details of the horror that is my life on it. Where, you know, I gave it to somebody who I thought could benefit from it. Then, you know, I'm just kind of naive, and you know, got to realize that people that are addicts, they're not gonna. They gotta reach a bottom. They're not gonna help themselves just because, like, here, you know, I went through this and you've been through bad shit, but this is pretty bad too. You know, it was like a gesture. And anyways, that's how I made that disc of a therapy disc, and I gave it to my therapist first, and then she gave it back to me after she watched it, and then I gave it to this person, and this person took care of it as about as well as a used piece of bubble gum. So I have no idea where it's at, and that's why I put it on YouTube under a different name. So I was like, well, if all that personal, really highly personal stuff is going to be floating around, I will edit out some key names to protect people, and just leave everything in there about me, and it's out there already. So, you know, somebody gets a hold of it, and or I become insanely famous. It's like it's like my version of Vanessa Williams after she got her penthouse scandal. That's really a stretch. I don't even have all the facts to that one, but there was some kind of scandal involving Vanessa Williams. For you older folks that might remember it, where she got famous as an actress and had some like pornography, softcore porn like pop up in her past or something. And I think she got stripped of her Miss USA title or something like that. I don't know. But I'm not going to get stripped of my Mr. America title. No. Because even if they do take away my title as the world's most handsome man, it won't matter. I won't be embarrassed because it's already out there. It's already been floating around in space. So, yeah, I figured just get out in front of it. But, what else can I talk about? How long have I been talking? I've had my glasses off for a while, and you know how I do. I have issues. 38 minutes. That seems like a seemly time. Not an unseemly time, like an hour and 38 minutes, which I can do easily. But no, what happened with this is like, you know, just put a scare into both them scumbags and just like, you know, I got so many grains, like I say at the top of that hourglass, and I'm not giving them my grains. I would like to give them migraines, but they're not getting my grains, if you can follow that. They're not getting my tiny little specks of time left. I'm not spending it on no vendettas or revenge, but I'm going to make them both sweat. And I listed out all Gerald's sins and how it's recorded and told him what he was. And that is why they're both banded together against me. Even though the cast guy saw the email where Gerald was like, he did it, he did it, he did it. You know, I didn't do nothing, man. He should have told both of us. Then He uses another ploy in there, which I didn't express, probably because I didn't notice it at first, was that he did the we against them type of thing. He said he probably should have told both of us to move, like we're a team, like both of us. Start speaking, he wants to put me on his side. And Cass is the bad guy you see over here, but he wants to put me on his side with the good guys. Scumbag. Watch your tongue. You don't have to swear to get your point across, Steve. You just don't have to say all those bad words you always say. He's not a very nice guy. And but the Cass guy didn't pick up on that. It's like probably because that's a cash cow for him, is Gerald, because Gerald's like cheapy cheapy. So it's like $185 to spray twice for bed bugs. He's not going to get anything cheaper than that. And so, you know, with all those properties and bed bugs being what they are, it's saving him tons of money. So naturally, he's going to team up with the Cass guy. But I was trying to point out to the Cass guy, it's like, watch your back with this Gerald guy, man. He's a sociopath. But then Cass turns around and calls me a sociopath. You're the sociopath. And it's like, I don't think you understand what a sociopath means. He's not, I don't seem all that bright of a dude as far as words, which there's other kinds of smart, but he's not word smart. Didn't know what tachycardia was. He didn't know what cardioversion was. I think anything with cardio in it, I think people pretty much know concerns your heart. And I think it should be common knowledge that you need your heart. That's kind of like your main thing you need. That's if you want to get into the emergency room the quickest way possible, just complain about your heart and they'll take you right in. You don't go in there and say, "Ooh, I have a headache." Even though you need your brain. "Ooh, I have a splitting headache." You got to be like waiting. But if you go in there and you're like, I got a history of heart trouble. I don't feel right. Which I did one time when I knew it was anxiety, and they were like, "Right to the front of the class, son," and took me in, which may have been wrong, but I did it. But yeah, it's like this Cass guy, not too bright. I was like, this isn't a debate we're having here. It's like I explained to you on the phone that I'm holding all the cards here. The only possible card that he could, now that him and Gerald teamed up against me 2-against-1, the only possible card that he has now is that he can say, thanks to Gerald, is he can say that my hostility for Gerald is the only reason why I'm pursuing a case against him. Not the fact that he sprayed me in the face with poison and I couldn't taste my food for 24 hours and I had a headache for 3 days. No, it's just because I want to get back at Gerald. Then he's dumb enough to bring up the low toxicity of the poison. It's like, yeah, that's fine if you're talking about healthy people, but healthy people are over there somewhere. They ain't over here. I don't know where they are. They're somewhere around here. But they aren't here. So I had an odd request for a video, which somebody wanted to see me walk. And I was coming up with this idea for a video. And I was going to call, I don't know if I got the guts enough. I know I got the guts enough to do it, but I don't know if it'd be in good taste or not. But I was going to do a video and call it The Flesh Prison or something like that, And then just wear a pair of shorts, show you scars, all the procedures, all the everything, head to toe, because this is just a disposable vessel. At this point, like, I don't really care. I'm gonna be dead. If I live 10 more years, I'll be surprised. Show you all the marks all over me, and then the scars on my back, and some of the malformation that never got corrected. Well, initially it got corrected, but then I got the CRPS, and then it kind of like settled back down. So I used to be like 6'2", and then I settled back down to 6'1", and so you get something called like a rib hump with scoliosis, because your your spine bends sideways, which forces your ribs back. So I've seen quite a few people with it. One of them was a good guy by the name of Temple, and it's called a rib hump. I had kyphoid scoliosis, which is a hunchback, and had scoliosis. So that means I was leaning over like this and sideways. So my spine was all twisted up. After they did the first surgery on me when I was 16, and then they did the halo traction on me with the screws in the head and straightened me out. They were straightening out kyphoid scoliosis. And so I went from 5'11" to 6'2", and then just because I was so sick, and I settled back down to 6'1" for some reason. And they took out a vertebrae about that big, so I should be like 6'4", 6'5", which I've always been very resentful over, because man, I would have been a monster back in when that happened in the 80s. They made smaller people back then, so there weren't a lot of 6'5" dudes walking around. But I think I was scary enough at 6'1". It was intimidating enough, pretty much, when I was healthy. When I was healthy and in my 20s and crazy as shit. I used to walk around neighborhoods at 2, 3 in the morning, and I'm not talking about nice neighborhoods either. I don't know if I ever told you this story, but this is a funny one. I showed fear. I don't know why I showed fear or why I was fearful that day. But there were some dudes just hanging out on the porch, and it wasn't even dark. It was just getting dark. And they said something to me, and I looked at them, and they must have saw a little twinge of fear I felt in my eyes. And so they started following me, and there's like 4 of them. Now, in that neighborhood, I always carried a weapon. I didn't have my weapon of choice with me, so all I had with me was a wrench. Okay? So, they start throwing rocks at me, and they're between my house and I'm here. They're like a picket fence, like 4 dudes, and my house is right there. And it's like, God damn it, these guys are gonna beat the shit out of me within 50 feet of my house. How the hell am I gonna get out of this? But I had this wrench in the front of my pocket, and so if you remember the scene from The Godfather, where there's this schmuck hanging outside, and Michael Corleone comes up to him and he says, if you see anybody slow down in the car, just stick your hand in your pocket and act like you have a gun. Well, I had that wrench there, and I stuck my hand in there, and I grabbed that wrench, and I stuck the point out a little bit, and I walked toward him. And I was like, you guys need to get out of here. And they bought the bluff, and they left, and I went in my house, and I didn't have nobody shakily light me a cigar like the scene in the, or a cigarette like the scene in the Godfather. But I was like, because it wouldn't be so much getting beat up. It'd be like getting beat up with safety in sight. That would have bothered me. But thank you, Godfather, for that scene, because that's what I did. I just had this big old wrench in my pocket, and I just held it like it was a gun, and I'm like, you guys need to get out of here. And I started walking toward them. They were just like throwing rocks at me and stuff at first. They weren't even, I don't know how old they were. They were calling me names and throwing rocks at me, and they were just like probably teenagers, like 4 of them, anywhere from 17 to 20. I don't even know how old. Big enough that 4 of them would have beat the shit out of me. Because, I am not Kung Fu master. So, I'm not doing no leg sweeps, no roundhouse kicks, or no MMA chokeouts. I can handle 1 dude. I might be able to handle 2 dudes, but 4 dudes, no, that ain't happening. I'm getting jolly stomped. So, that movie saved me from an ass beating. And I don't know if I told my Mad Dog Cujo story yet on here. But another piece of fiction saved me. And there's a show in the 70s called Kung Fu that I used to watch religiously when I was a kid. That was like scriptures to me, man. There's an episode where he walks through a snake pit and he's flashing back. Like he always had these flashbacks to the temple in this show. He's flashing back and he's like, um, if you are one, it was something along the lines like it's been too many years. If you are one with the tiger cannot attack itself. So be one with nature, right? So me and my nephew, we go on this walk. This dog shows up. It's a Rottweiler going about 150, 175 pounds. Big ass freaking dog. And it is clearly not well. And I don't know what my dad or family was thinking, but whoever did it, but they tied it up and they gave it food and they gave it water and they tied it up to the bumper of the car. And its eyes were all muddy and it had like mangy fur and it's clearly sick. And um, I guess I don't know what exactly happened or how it got loose, but it got loose, and then my dad was out there throwing shit at it, aggravating it, trying to scare it away. Well, after I was done walking home with my nephew, the dog, in its demented mind, assumed that that was his house and his property, so he didn't let my dad drive it away. And my dad went back in the house because it's a 150 to 175 pound mad dog. Not with rabies, but just sick. And it wasn't foaming or nothing. It was, you could just look in its eyes and it's like, this is a sick, deranged animal. But, anyways, telling a bad story. Or telling a story badly. A good story badly, which is unforgivable. But it just completely ignores my cousin. Or my nephew. My nephew just walks right past it. It just has a hard on for me. I'm the big guy. It don't like me. It won't let me in the yard. So I'm standing out in the street, it's not letting me in the yard. And somebody comes out on the porch. And they're like, yeah, man, that dog's crazy. Stay away from it. And I was like, no shit. And so I waited there and it like went around to the other side of the house. So I went around to the side of the house trying to sneak into the back door. Well, it went around the house and it met me in this little like corridor where there was like fences from the neighbors and there's the house and it was just me and the dog. And Cujo was looking down at my balls. That's how big this Rottweiler was. I'm 6'1". It's looking down at my balls and it's this far away from him. And it's just like, and I know dogs, but I don't know how to deal with no deranged dogs. So I'm like, I'm not making eye contact with it. I'm not moving. And I'm saying underneath my breath, no, you don't want to be like that. You're a good dog. You don't want to be like that. Every time I'd whisper my little sweet nothings to him, he would growl louder. So then I remembered that TV show where it's like, if you are one with nature, the tiger cannot attack itself. So I just became nothing. I just didn't move, didn't say anything. I just like blended into the scene. And the dog just got bored. It just went away. Then I went in the back and I got inside the house and I said, the hell is wrong with you people, man? Because the door was locked. The back door was locked and I pounded on the back door, save me from Cujo. And they're all excited in the living room area, so they don't hear me pounding on the back door. So guess what? I got to go all the way back outside, sneak around the corner and look, and I'm like, is the evil devil dog about? And then just like kind of like ran as best as I could in the front door, and they were all like yammering about what to do about this dog. And I'm like, are you people deaf? And I don't remember what I said, but I went off on them. I might even use profanity in front of my mother, which is a no-no. And I was like, what the hell's wrong, man? Didn't you hear me pounding on the back door? That was so messed up. It's like, oh my God, thank God I'm going to get in the house. And then the back door is locked and I'm pounding on it, and they're not going to let me in, man. I got to go back out there with that fucking animal. I went around and I was like, he must have been on the other side of the house, and I got lucky. And I went in. Or I got lucky, or probably I wouldn't be here because there's nothing, even a guy my size, there ain't no fighting 150 to 175 pound deranged Rottweiler. You're just meat. You're going to get chewed up like a soup bone. What am I going to do? I don't got no weapons. What am I going to do? Dirty box it? I mean, kick it? It's just going to piss it off worse, man. My brother said all you could have done was lay there like a bear and just let it do its worst until it got tired. I was like, yeah, that's about it. Because resisting it would have just made matters worse. But yeah, I don't think I told that one before. And it was just so ridiculous. It's just like, yeah, only me. These kinds of things only happen to me. I was so relieved to get in that garage. I guess I could have just waited it out in the garage, but, I just didn't. Uh, the garage didn't have a door on it, for one thing, and the dog could have came in the garage, and then I would have been pinned in the garage, because the garage door there was no door on the garage, which comes into play in a very old video where I step in a hole, for those of you who have actually followed me that long, where there's no garage door. They just have a board up to block this puppy in. This is years before. And I pick up a board off of a hole and I step in the hole. And I'm just stuck there with one leg down in a hole, one leg out, and a very uncomfortable things, and my unmentionables being squashed. And nobody there to help me. And the puppy wasn't getting out anyway, but I was worried about him getting out and getting hit by a car. It looked like he could get out. So I was like, man, that board's not cutting it. I'm going to grab this board over a hole. Because years before, my dad had to pull a pump, because we're kind of not rural, but like suburbs. We didn't have city water. We had well water. So we had to bust a hole in the concrete, like, yay big, perfect size for my leg, and put a board over it there. I knew about that hole for years, but I just had a brain fart and I didn't think about nothing but that puppy's going to get out and I can't catch him because I can't run and he might get hit by a car. So I need to block up this garage with no door on it with this board so he don't get out. That was all that was running through my mind, and that was also why I had to go back. I would have just closed the garage door and peed in a cup if I had to, and just stayed in the garage. But no, there was no garage door, so I was like worried about the dog like scenting me and tracking me in there, and killing me in the garage while everybody was arguing about what to do about the dog. But they called animal control on it, and I guess they didn't have too much trouble with it. I didn't even watch, but I guess they caught it in the neighbor's yard across the street. And that's one story. But see, fiction is useful. Don't let anybody tell you different, man. Because fiction saved me an ass whipping from 4 teenagers, and it saved me getting mauled by a mad dog. Just because I thought of that show. It's like, if you are one with the tiger cannot attack itself. And by golly, it worked. I was amazed. Because I was figuring I was dead. There ain't nothing like having a dog that's got like mangy coat, muddy, mad eyes, just growling at your balls. And literally that far away from your balls. And you're like, can you pick another place to bite me first, please? that's that's just the way he was positioned, and he wasn't moving, and I was afraid to move. But the key to that is calming myself down, relaxing, and holding still, and not even barely breathing, and just being nothing, like the Buddhists say. The greatest man is nobody. So I was just nothing. And, the dog was like, well, this is boring. I want to go kill someone else. This guy is no fun at all. He don't even seem to care if his balls get bitten off. So he just took off. Uh, but yeah, getting back to the central theme of the video, which is, of course, the opening text I read in my horrible living situation, which somehow manages to get worse and worse as we go. I imagine creativity. I was trying to do that thing where you let your mind go blank and get something creative in there. I was thinking, what other kind of creature could get in here where the exterminator could fuck me over? I thought about mouse traps, I thought about my feet stepping in mouse traps or something like that. And I was like, no, that won't cut it. But anyways, um, yeah, I'm probably just gonna like let these guys sweat a little bit, and I'm not gonna put my effort into. I will expose the guy in court, but I'll just get a petition from the neighbors and maybe a statement from my doctor that I had anxiety meds upped and that the death threats are on record with Madison Police Department. And then I was thinking, like, just bringing the money, if I'm still going to be living here, just bringing the money with me in court as a gesture of contempt. And I said, well, saying judge, well, I have the money right here if he wants to come and get it. But what? Instead of doing that, and then just like accidentally dropping it, making him bend down to pick it up, like the little worm that he is, the little money grubbing piece of, okay, no foul language is necessary to make a point. But the better way to do that is to keep him out of here, keep that 8-foot hole in the wall, keep that window to where it's like a guillotine, keep these lights to where they don't work above me, and make him get into his pocketbook that way, and make him put it up the code and show, not only expose him for the drug trafficking through signed statements of the neighbors and through police reports if I can figure out how to get them, because I don't know anybody. I know a guy from Canton, but I don't know a guy from this city's police to make that an easy chore. I have to go down to the station, or maybe it's a matter of public record. I don't know anything about it. I got time to figure it out. But point being, going there with signed statements of all my neighbors that they've saw drugs being dealt out of here, and police reports and complaints of death threats in 2018 from my doctor and how he had to raise my anxiety meds, and compounding that, the 8-foot hole in the wall and all the code violations in here. And that's probably what I'm going to do. There won't be no civil court and this drug out thing and like waiting for a settlement and, me with dreams of avarice and gold, raining gold upon myself from their pockets or whatever. I don't care. I don't care about money. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna let this Cass guy, sweat out the $500 and then talk to him about it and ask him if he's ready to, if you want me to proceed after the $1,700 gets spent, and then he finds out about it that I wasn't lying, that's a show of like monetary force. Like I got that much money. Um, I'll talk to him and I'll be like, well, do you still want to make that deal where you want me to sign for this $500, or do you want me to drag your ass into civil court? I'm gonna leave it up to you. And then he'll say, well, of course, I want you to sign for the $500. And I'll be like, you know what? A man's honor is worth more than $500. I hope you find some and just not take the $500. I'm a weird guy. What can I say? Most people are like, $500. Let me sign. I'm a weird guy. What can I say? That's what I'll end up doing. I'm gonna make the guy sweat bullets for a couple of weeks, and then just I don't know what, just diss him like that, just diss him like that. Like Diogenes just cannot find that honest man. Diogenes, I only know two stories about this Greek guy named Diogenes. And the one of them is, of course, the one that everyone knows, where he went out with a lantern looking for an honest man. That's like fairly famous. The other one is that Alexander the Great came to visit the great wise man Diogenes, and in the middle of Alexander the Great gabbing at him, Diogenes whips it out, turns around, and takes a piss. And Alexander the Great said, "If I had to choose to be anybody besides Alexander the Great, I would choose to be Diogenes." Those are the only two stories I know about Diogenes. I don't even know what his freaking philosophy was. I think he might have been a Stoic, like me. Uh, I doubt he was as funny as me, though, or as handsome. He definitely wasn't as tall because people were really small back then. So, um, yeah, I don't know. Can't really think of anything more interesting to say. Like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here, but I got to save up money because I'm going to just leave most of my stuff here. I'm not putting a lot of effort into taking all these bad memories with me. So, bed stays here, couches stay here. Um, just buy a new coffee pot, a new toaster. You know, it's going to take me a while to save up money to feel comfortable. I got a place that somebody was recommending to me, like I said, that is right across from a grocery store, which would be handy. And I can get, it's right across from a Mark's store, and I can get my prescriptions filled there too. And supposedly it's set up for apartments, which they, like I said, they have that sound insulating barrier, so I won't, I just want peace and quiet, you know. I don't want to have earplugs in my ears when I'm trying to do audiobooks and stuff like that. I just want peace and quiet. And I lived in one of those type places before that are made for apartments, and you have to turn your stereo up to 11, like I said before, for you to even hear anything. I mean, gunshots, maybe, but we didn't hear any gunshots. We didn't live there that long. Um, so, there won't be no. Even Stampy would probably be defeated by the concrete barrier, though. I don't know. I wouldn't bet my life on it. Seriously. I don't think I would hear it, but I'm not 100% sure. Because, like I said in other videos, she actually turned on my lights from stamping. I had a bicycle set up against the wall very carefully that she actually, a 100-pound electric bicycle, I was laying in bed, she stomped so heavily that it fell over and the frame hit the wall, and that's something for Gerald to fix. It scraped all the paint off the corner of this wall. I'm just sitting here and I hear her stomping, and then I hear a big crash, and it's like, oh my God, she actually knocked down my bicycle. And I knew it couldn't have been anything else, and I got up, and it's like, boy, that thing was a bitch to pick up. Somebody with bad legs. Um, yeah, as far as what to do with my electric bicycle, I don't know. I'll just probably leave most everything here and start over somewhere else. You know, somewhere more corporate where it's like I don't have to see this guy. See, I don't have any checks. That's a problem because I just use cash for everything, or a bank card, or a debit card, credit card type thing. I don't I don't have checks. I don't have online banking. Now, if I can get my motorized scooter, but I won't be able to get it before the rent rolls around, then I could roll down to the bank and go in there in person and get me some checks. And I don't have an online account with my bank, so I don't think I can get checks that way. So, it's a risk, but money don't mean a whole lot to me. But what I'm gonna do is take a mailer, seal it up, set a time with Gerald to show up, give it to Roy, and be like, "Why is this fucking envelope so fat?" Or maybe I could put it in hundreds, so it's only like 1700s instead of like the 20s they give you out of the ATM. And if I can get some help doing that, but help is pretty thin. Because if you think about $1,700 in 20s, that's going to be a big, bulky, thick, like Sopranos type envelope. It's going to be weird, but if I can get it in $100 bills, I could maybe like get the money and have somebody, see if I can get somebody to take it to a bank for me and get it in hundreds, so it's not so weird. So like, I don't think Roy's a thief, frankly, but 1,700 bucks is 1,700 bucks, and if it's like a big old fat envelope, he's not gonna know that that I'm paying that much in advance until the landlord gives him the 4 receipts for 4 different months. That's the plan, anyway. I'm not saying I'm no kind of criminal mastermind or anything like that. Even my plan of petty revenge is very simple. I'm not like, I don't use my intellect for that sort of thing. Um, I would consider that a misuse of God given talent if I sat around thinking about ways to screw over people. I might be good at it, I don't know. But, I'd rather like make videos like the one that I just put out that I'm sure everyone will dislike, which is was speaking about the name of God, how it's like a trick. It's like the Judeo-Christian name of God is actually I exist. That's not a name. It's not a name. Like and yeah. I was mad at myself. I didn't think of that. I had to put it in the comments. So, like, it's like small wonder, like if all they have left of the name of the Judeo-Christian God after all the debating of atheists that you've done, and it's called the Tetragrammaton because it means literally 4 letters. How could you miss saying? Small wonder the atheists thought God was a 4-letter word. How could you miss saying that? Man, you suck. Hearing raccoons, or gotta be raccoons fighting outside right now. And I think I'm tired of talking. And yeah, this friendship I got going with the, whatever you want to call it, with the Afghani war vet dude, it's costing me because I'm smoking cigarettes now. I'm smoking, like, every time I see him, I smoke anywhere between 2 to 4 cigarettes. Can't be doing that stuff, man. That's how fragile my health is I can actually feel the difference, and sometimes I think I take a blood pressure pill and stuff. So, me saying that the toxicity level on that poison I got sprayed with is irrelevant is really factual, because I mean, I can feel the difference after smoking 2 cigarettes. I'm assuming that if I blew smoke on a bed bug, it wouldn't have much effect on them. Though I didn't really try that. I didn't see any while I was smoking. So I don't need to be smoking at all. It's such a stupid addiction, but it's all psychological. There's no payback for it for me except for a bad taste in my mouth, swimmy head. Sometimes if I smoke more than 2 cigarettes, I'll get a real nice juicy headache. So it's just, you know, it's like smack or something. It's like, I know I'm not going to get that dragon, but God, I'm going to give that a try. I had some good times smoking before. But it's like, I'm still chasing that dragon. It's just, it's not the full blown dragon at the season 8 finale of Game of Thrones. It's them little baby ones that were in the temple that burnt that necromancer dude up. But it's still a little dragon I'm chasing, because I had good times um, when I was smoking, and I used to enjoy like talking and smoking. A lot of people like they can't drink, they want to drink and smoke. It's like I never liked drinking, but I love talking and smoking. Oh, let's see. That is an hour and 14 minutes. Good Lord, that is enough of Mr. Steve. Mr. Steve must take leave. So, goodbye. And I'll talk to you later.